Hey guys, welcome to the Superhero Cut Show. It's your boys Stevie and Jerry. This is where we talk about things Marvel, DC, and Star Wars. What's up, dog? How are you, man? What's going on?
Great, bro. How you doing?
Good, man. This is a little midweek video. So there was some Superman details that dropped. So Jerry and I wanted to really talk to you guys about it, give some of our thoughts. So let me just read this, and then Jerry, I just want to hear your thoughts on it. So it says this. This is from Daniel RPK. He dropped a bunch of stuff. He also dropped a bunch of details on Green Lantern, but we already went over that. We've been talking about Green Lantern all week. So let's talk about this. I've also heard that the new Superman movie is fantastic, and they're going all out. It is a complete
Fantastical.
shift. Yes, it is a complete shift to hardcore sci-fi fantasy, the exact opposite of Man of Steel. It's set in a world very different from ours and far removed from the DCEU. Heroes have been around for ages, and we'll see how it affected the world's history and has shaped the DCU. The DCU will feature various projects set across different timelines, not just our present day. So, more in line with the approach of Star Wars than Marvel. How do you feel about this detail about Superman and about the DCU as a whole?
I am so pumped. And full transparency, like not that I don't like Superman. I obviously love Superman, but of the projects that have been announced for the DCU, the main ones, not like Creature Commandos, but I've been more excited for Batman the Brave and the Bold and the Lanterns. But when I hear something like this, it gets me really excited for Superman because there are a couple of things in here that confirm that this is just going to be exactly what it needs to be. Number one is the obvious that it's going to be fantastical, mixed with sci-fi. Marvel and DC are obviously the two juggernauts in the space. Uh, the big difference between the two is that Marvel's lore is pretty much all science, which I think is awesome for Marvel. It works. I love Marvel. But DC does science and fantastical. Like that is DC. They do both. They lean in, and when they lean into the fantastical elements, they stand on 10 toes. They do it wholeheartedly. And when it comes to Superman, a lot of his villains and a lot of his lore is a mix of both. And I think that you need that for a proper, accurate Superman movie that honors his legacy. Obviously, they dropped legacy from the title Superman Legacy, but I always took it as this is going to be a movie that honors Superman legacy. Even though that word is dropped from the title, I still think they have the same intentions there. Number one. And, number two, I love the idea, and this is my favorite piece of information here. And we kind of spoke about this because when we found out that it's going to be possible that this is a universe that there's history and the heroes have already existed versus the MCU, we pretty much saw everyone's origin, especially in the beginning, and I think Stevie thought about it a little differently than I did. And I was like, wait a minute, this could be really cool because we could be watching a Superman movie and there could be callbacks, flashbacks to, history that we aren't experienced with, and it could reveal itself in a number of different ways. And I think that could be a cumulative thing that, gradually they build on the history that they tell us as we're going forward in this new universe. And I think for, a character like Superman, and that's the perfect movie to establish this concept in the DCU. Like I said, I'm a little more excited for Batman Brave and the Bold and the Lanterns, but Superman is the movie to watch out for with the DCU. This is the number one project they have on the slate. This is the one that almost everyone is most excited for. And it is pretty obvious that James Gunn is building the DCU around Superman. So I'm super excited with that. And the other thing here is uh, DC does such a good job with the world building and all of the leaked footage that we've seen, from set on the streets of, I think it was Ohio, but it's clear that they are really building the Metropolis world with the Daily Planet, Lois, Jimmy Olsen, and the supporting characters in the Superman universe. And I just think it's going to be absolutely incredible. And, you know, don't sleep on the idea of the concept that there is pre-existent history within this universe, because one of the things James Gunn's going to have to do with the DCU, and I think this is his biggest challenge, is he is going to have to do things different than Marvel. He can't have the general audiences walking out of movies thinking this is just DC's answer to the MCU, or this is DC's version of the MCU. This has to be a universe that stands on its own. And I think in order to do that, he's going to have to do things that have never been done before, that are fresh, that are new, that make the DCU a pioneer in the space. And I think the pre-existent history is an epic way to do it. And James Gunn's brilliant. And if that's what he's doing, I have no doubt he's going to knock it out of the park.
Yeah. Great answer. Great answer.
Thank you.
I want to talk about a few things here. Number one is that when I hear opposite of Man of Steel, I think of this, bro. That when we saw Man of Steel, Superman didn't know what he was doing at all. And going into Batman versus Superman, that was pretty much the point of the whole film, is that Superman kind of had a twisted way of the way he was doing things, right? And with this DCU Superman, it seems like Clark Kent, aka Kal-El, aka Superman, he's going to be coming in knowing what he has to do. And from what we've seen from the set and from what James Gunn has said, is that Superman is going to just be the hero for everybody, the hero for the people. And how long has it been since we've seen Superman do something as simple as saving a cat from a freaking tree? You know what I mean? And I think that is what is going to be so special, is that it isn't like he's doing like the craziest changes, but he's keeping Superman simple, because that's what Superman has always been. He's been a simple character doing the simple things to help simple people. And the one thing that you said, right? Like, I feel like, James Gunn isn't afraid to let it be comic booky. And when I say comic booky, is, the Daily Planet ball is going to look ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to look crazy. It's going to look shiny. It's going to look wild. And that's,
to me, that doesn't look ridiculous. Like, and maybe that's because I'm from New York and I see things like that, but I don't think that looks ridiculous. And I don't think it looks ridiculous to be comic booky. And hold on, wait. No, but I'm saying, like, from a normie eye, from someone that's never really seen a true Superman film, like what this is coming out to be, they're gonna be like, that Daily Planet ball looks ridiculous as hell, and it's awesome. You know what I mean? And I feel like this kind of authenticity that we're going to see, bro, from James Gunn is going to start a trend, I think, in a lot of other franchises around us. And I feel like Spider-Verse kind of started this a little bit, of like, it's okay to just hang in the source material and just rock out. And you know what I mean? And I think that trend that James Gunn is starting, bro, is going to be super crazy. I also love the fact that it seems like James Gunn is very adamant, bro, on this being far removed from the DC EU. Okay. And like, I love, and you and I we're just talking about this off air, right? About how there has to be a creative bone to when you're making something, right? There has to be a clear vision. And James Gunn, like, this dude has a vision for what they're trying to do. And also the last thing that really sent me for a spin, it's more of a Star Wars approach than a Marvel one. And if you guys know how Star Wars was, right, is, Star Wars started off early, then they went back. And then when Disney we're not going to go down that road, but we don't know if they're going to go back, though. Like, we don't know that. I think that is a big leap. I think I disagree with you. I don't think,
bro, I didn't finish my thought, though, because Star Wars did do this to where they started forward, right? Like, where we saw Luke and people were like, what the heck? who is Darth Vader? What is his origin? And then we get the whole prequel series of Anakin, blah 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 blah. Now, I I'm not going to go on a ledge and say that I know that James Gunn is going to go back, because that no one knows that. But I do think that the Star Wars approach from when we got, the Star Wars, the Clone Wars, and all of that stuff that George Lucas did in between that, we got to see a bunch of different stories happening in this during the same time in a bunch of different worlds, and creating, honestly, bro, like it kind of felt like you're watching like a different universe, because you're getting introduced into these different worlds. So, bro, think about this, right? We are going to get an Earth-based Superman film, right? But then we're going to freaking that is nothing like Metropolis at all. You know what I mean? And it's going to feel like you're in a whole different like era. So, yeah, bro, it's this is going to be
So I
exciting.
think the galaxy, is going to be expansive and all that, but I don't think that it is. I still disagree with you on the Star Wars approach, because I just think that based on what we know, I think it's fair to assume that they are going to reveal information about the past through various things.
Yeah,
And when I say callbacks or flashbacks, it could be a flashback in someone's imagination. It could be a callback from a newspaper article or a news clip on TV that's played back or something of that sort. There are different ways to reveal information about what happened in the past. And you could get creative with that, like the examples I just mentioned. But I don't think that it's something we've ever seen before. And I think that, you know, it's okay to not have a label for it. Star Wars, yeah, of course, they made a universe where there was pre-existing history, but they didn't really reveal that much about it. And then eventually they did the prequel. I think this is going to be different than that. And I don't think there's a label for it, and I think
yeah.
that's okay. And I
But
think
that's not what I
that's
technically said, though.
well, and that's what it sounded like. And
No,
I
no,
think
no. That is that no. So what? So let me just so what I am saying is that in the medium between the when Disney acquired Star Wars, there was the Clone War show, and what I'm saying that like in that show, right? Everything happened in the same timeline, like during the same time, but there were a bunch of different stories that would make you think that you're watching a whole different show. And and that's why I use the example of in Superman, we're getting a Metropolis story for 90, and we might go to space, who knows? But then when we go to Green Lantern, like we're going to be in space, bro. And we might not hit Earth. So,
well, no,
and
they did say that
what
the detective story takes place on Earth.
it does.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I
But
I know. I thought it was going to be the opposite too, but they confirmed it takes
interesting,
place on Earth.
interesting,
Yeah.
interesting. But I still feel like there are two different tones with that film, and that's where I think that a lot of people are missing the mark, just as what you have said, right? Because I mean, I feel like it would be pretty obvious, right, for them to do a time jump. That's why I don't think that they're going to do that these first like 10 years. Like I'm like I would be more comfortable if we start with Superman and you just push it forward. You know what I mean? Obviously, as you said, right? Like there might be a flashback from a freaking newspaper, but I personally would like if like we start with a Superman and you give us an ongoing story. Going back in time, I think hurts Star Wars, but topic for another day.
I think it would be cool for the flashbacks and callbacks, and I think that it would make the universe feel different than anything else. And I think that it's hard to explain and describe because there is no label for it. Nothing like this exists. And I do think that James Gunn is smart enough to recognize that he has to be a pioneer with the DCU. And I think that, that is one of the ways he can make this universe unlike anything else. And I think that when there's something new, and it's the same in sneakers, whenever there's like a new uh, sneaker that kind of pushes the boundaries of style, like, for example, when the Yeezy Boost came out, everyone was like, "Oh, it looks like the Flyknits and it looks like the Roshis, so it's a combination of the
Facts.
two."
I
And like,
remember that they said like Roshi.
it's like, people immediately jump to label things to help understand it. But when you're dealing with these newer things that are trying to be a pioneering, version of something, there really is no label for it. Like, another great example is right behind me, the Batmobile from The Dark Knight.
I
But
love the
seriously,
Tumbler. I love the
seriously,
Tumbler.
you
Yeah, I
could
love the
you
Tumbler.
there's no car you could compare the Tumbler to. You can't call it a tank. You can't call it a Lamborghini version of a Batmobile. You can't call it all these labels people tried to apply to it when it first came out. And I think that is like the beauty of someone like James Gunn, who's so intelligent, who's so creative, and they get to be such a crazy pioneer that it confuses people and people resort to labels. And I think labels, in a lot of ways, are. I'm not against labels. I think labels are for a lot of things are very good. They allow us to hold something up to the light, examine it, critique it, say what we like about it, and either evolve and take inspiration from and things like that. But when you're dealing with something new, labels in a lot of ways tend to put something in a box while it's still evolving in a premature state.
Yeah. So I mean, and I do agree that James Gunn is doing it already in a whole different way because I mean we're getting Hawk Girl and freaking Guy Gardner and all of these different characters are going to be in this verse. We're like Iron Man 1 wasn't that many people in the film. You know what I'm saying? Barely saw even freaking Nick Fury.
Yeah,
So like
I love that movie.
James, dude, man, woo. Don't even get me started, bro. Don't even get me started. But like James Gunn is already doing it differently that way. I just really do think it's very interesting that Daniel said Star Wars. Then like that just really that really hinted to me.
Also could have been the label that he heard. He could have heard the example
Yeah,
and then applied that label. And that's the problem with labels on things when they're in a premature state.
for sure. But I will say though, I am excited to see, the and to be real, bro, I don't really care about how the timeline works. I'll be honest, I don't give a darn. I just want to see a good movie. And I want to see the world building just work. Like and I think that the multiverse saga has doomed us with this of like timeline watching. And I think the DCU is gonna be a breath of fresh air of like who cares?
So I think that the interesting thing with the multiversal saga is, like, I think it could have been so much better than it has been, and I
Yeah.
do think, and I do fault Marvel for that. Like, there hasn't been like one good movie where we traveled around the multiverse. The only cool thing we ever did traveling the multiverse was in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, and they still butchered that. Like, they could have done a much better job with it. And I think it's interesting that they are the ones having the multiversal saga, and you could arguably say that they're the worst in the space with the multiverse concept, because obviously number one goes to Across the Spider-Verse or the Spider-Verse movies, and number two, and a lot of people might disagree with me on this, but I think The Flash did an amazing job with the multiverse. I love that movie. And
Same here.
what's interesting, by
That
the
movie's
way,
underrated.
it's underrated, and I think that movies are unfairly criticized for a lot of reasons. And I think that one was because, what's interesting? When
Hmm.
we saw that movie and we went and saw it early, the entire theater erupted
And that was a
throughout the
theater of
movie.
like 500 people.
And everyone was blown away. And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden online, it was like, oh, The Flash is bad. Like, The Flash was great. And if you
Yeah.
watch that movie and you're honest with yourself, I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly. And as Marvel, and I agree though. Marvel hasn't done the best job, and I think it's also doomed fans to multiverse watch a lot. And like that's why I say, bro. Like I really think the DCU is the breath of fresh air that we need as fans. And because I just don't think the multiverse is really going to matter in this first 10 years. Might not matter for even longer than that. And I
Hopefully
am so happy with like just focusing on the DCU. Like, just give me
it's
that.
also like everything is multiverse right now. I mean, it's multiverse in Marvel comics, it's multiverse in DC comics,
Yeah, it's annoying. It's kind of
it's
annoying.
multiverse in the Spider-Verse movies. It's yeah, and like so I don't think DC is going to go with the multiverse route with DCU, but it is annoying how like every single franchise
They're
is
copying
multi.
trends. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's nasty.
it's
Yeah.
annoying. It's like
So
come up with something new.
yeah. Same thing how like with Civil War, then we get BVS. It's like, bro, like just make up, be creative. Be
Yeah.
freaking creative, man. So yeah,
Everyone says Marvel copied DC on that, which if it's true, I don't care. Civil
yeah,
War is way better than BVS.
facts,
So
facts,
yeah, like they deserve that one.
facts, bro.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, all in all, guys, we are super excited for Superman, and this is just really good news that James Gunn is going this route, and it seems like bro is in his flow state, and he has a plan, and he's doing his thing. And it is very reminiscent to what Kevin Feige did, to where he came in, he had a plan, and he's going through with that plan. So, James Gunn, from us to you, we wish you and your team all the success, and we hope that you guys can, change the world.
Also, it seems like James Gunn is a guy that shares the vision with people he's working with, and they all understand the vision
They
to
believe it, yes.
confidently and competently carry out the tasks of their job.
Yeah. I mean, bro, and something that warmed my heart too was Corn Sweat and Rachel
Brosnan.
Brosnan. They were with their husband. Well, she was with her husband. He was with his wife. They were all at the Olympics just hanging out. You know what I mean? And that's how you know that like James Gunn is setting a really good tone in DC of like we're a family. Like, you know what I mean? Like we're not just doing work and and just not seeing you again. So I'm happy that like DC, it doesn't feel toxic. It's like James Gunn is really trying to build something over there. So I am, bro. I am really like Jerry, and you and I both come from that corporate America, and we have both seen how company transitions have terribly gone. So we understand how hard it can be, and I'm very impressed from a business standpoint how good Peter Safran and James Gunn have done. And shout out to Zaslav, because Warner Bros is not in the best place, and for him to take a risk on, because I mean, getting James Gunn is a risk, and
Yeah.
taking that risk on him shows how much balls that he has as an owner as well. So WB, shout out to y'all, man. That like I am very
Fix
impressed.
Max. I need you to fix Max's audio.
Yo, bro, you should start saying that every episode.
I know. I need to like go on their contact us page and
No, honestly, bro, I'm finna just clip it and just post it on X and just tag him, like, because you talked about it on the pod.
yeah, please do. Please do.
All right, y'all. Well, all right, y'all. Look, we are going to get out of here. We might cover there were some other Green Lantern details. We might cover that too this week as well. So we'll see. But subscribe to our second channel, Spectrum Cuts.
And don't forget to subscribe to this one.
Yes. So we love you guys. Have a great day. Deuces.